I'm David Griffin. It's the 17th of April 2018 and I'm here at Derby talking to
Andy Mitchell.
Andy, thanks for joining us as part of this project. You're one of the more familiar faces around Derbyshire cricket that's not actually played for Derbyshire. I think over the years you've probably got a list of, you've played cricket, you're heavily involved as an official, you're a sponsor, you've been on benefit committees, you manufacture or you sell cricket kit. What was your initial introduction into cricket? How far do we go back and where was it?
Well, I think the first time I can actually remember is at Chesterfield. There was, I think it may have been around about 1968. I know it was before the John Player League, and we played an international 11. And all I remember, it used to be televised, and the only time that it was rained off was the one that was against Derbyshire. And they used to bring all these overseas players and play on a Sunday afternoon. International Cavaliers.
Was it the Rothmans Cavaliers?
That's what it was called, the International Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And I always remember that we were taken to Chesterfield and to watch this game. And the other thing in that season, I'm sure it was the same season, was the that might have been '69, but the semi-final with Tom Ayre, that might have been a year
69,
later. That
yeah.
was '69 when we lost to Yorkshire. Yeah. Well, that was the first time I remember going to Chesterfield with my dad, which wasn't really too far from where we live, really.
And did you play cricket at that time, Andy?
At that time, no, I never. Only local on local playing fields and school and things like that. But there wasn't junior cricket in them days as such. I started playing in 1975 for South Wingfield, and at that time there was only one age group, and it was under 18. So if you were any good at 10, you played, and if you were any good at 17, you played against a 10-year-old. So that's how I started.
And you were still watching Derbyshire at that time?
Oh, I mean, we've always watched Derbyshire. We've watched Derbyshire as a family since, like, say, '68. I probably went more independent when I got into my teens and used to go to Chesterfield, used to come down here collecting autographs and the likes. But when we got to play at South Wingfield, we tended to try and get at least 1-2 matches away. Usually in Benson Edges or Nant West matches where I used to get a minibus up and we used to have some good times away.
So we're talking now, this is in the 70s?
I would say that as a family, we used to go to the matches pre '75, and we'd go to a few away matches, but we'd inevitably come here in Chesterfield. But as a youth, I started to come down here probably more on school holidays, and I remember the days when we used to go to Heanor and play like that, the odd trip out, and the place in Staffordshire and that sort of thing, with my mum and dad still, and my cousins.
And who were your favourite players at that time with Derbyshire?
Oh, in the '70s, one of the first ones I ever remember was Chris Wilkins, I suppose. Really, he was one of the first overseas I can remember. I think there was another guy came up. Was it Inman? Did we have
Clive Inman?
Clive Inman. We had Clive Inman. Yeah. I think did he come here for a while?
Yeah, just one day cricket.
That was all. Yeah, I remember him. And I loved Ron Edley. I thought Ron Edley was brilliant. Later in life, I've met Ron a few times because I'm quite friendly with Dean, his son. Which I never knew Ron obviously when he was here, so I've had a chat with him over the years. We're now in Dean, but I mean, I suppose really, I'm going a bit. I'm cutting through a few years, but the likes when Barlow come really, I suppose, spared us all on. We went from really just a very, very poor side into a side that had got kicked into shape.
Yeah, well, I think it's true, and certainly through the course of a lot of these interviews, it's quite apparent that Barlow's impact was both on and off the field because he transformed the place, no question about it. What were you doing in terms of you were presumably at school at this time?
I was at school till '77.
Yeah.
And then when I left school, I joined the police force, of which I was a civilian for 13 years. In 1990, I left the police force and set up Mitchell Sports.
Did you play any cricket while you were?
Oh yeah. 75 I started at South Wingfield. Yeah. I've only ever played for South Wingfield. I've never played for any other club in league cricket. And this will be, I think it's 45th season. It's supposed to be on Saturday, but whether it is with the weather, I don't know. But
And was that a choice, staying at that club, was that a choice you made early on, or did it, you just...
Probably weren't wanted. I probably wasn't wanted anywhere else. To
Right.
be quite honest. No, I think it was the village where I lived in, and obviously I got involved, and then I went on to committee, then I become captain, and seconds, then first, and I've just had no passion to move anywhere else. I mean, that club means a lot to me, and always has done. And I'm now chairman, and to be quite honest, it's getting into quite a good little club. You know, we've have overseas players every year. We've done very well, really. It's we need to win a league, but that's, you know, that hopefully that will come.
What sort of cricketer were you, Andy? What was style?
Very
Batsman,
poor.
bowler?
No, I am quite sad in as much as I have kept a record of every game that I've played in. So I can tell you that I have played 1161 matches, I think it is, for South Wingfield. And I need 30 odd wickets for 1,000, something like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I kept wicket for 5 or 6 seasons. I've only ever had 1 century. I had a century against West Hallam in the Division 5.
What year was that?
That was in 2003, something
Really?
like that.
So you waited a good-
yeah,
a good
120,
time.
123 not out I got. And I can still see Martin Bostock bowling that ball for me 100 now.
So you've been playing 28 years, or 27, 28 years?
yeah, something like that. I'll be quite
I
honest.
bet that's a record.
Probably, yeah, probably. But I always remember as a kid writing to Jim will fix it. I'm not speak about that nowadays, but to see if he'd allow us to play a game at Lord's, because I knew that I would never be good enough to play at Lord's. And so what I decided that when I was doing my 1,000th game for South Wingfield, I am quite involved with the PCA, and we arranged it that I actually hired it for the day
Right.
in 2009 to celebrate my 1,000th game, and we had a game on the nursery, and there was 17 South Wingfield or ex-South Wingfield players, and I had 5 ex-pros
Yeah.
who have been close to me over the years come and join me. So Devon came and played, which is quite funny about Devon because he turned up with no boots, and he still tells me to this day that he had to go in Lord's shop and spend £80 to play in a game, my game, on the nursery ground. Kevin Dean played, of which I was his chairman. Frankie Griffiths,
Yeah.
Ian Salisbury, and the first person that I ever had anything to do with sponsorship down here was Tim O'Gorman.
Yeah, right,
Tim
yeah.
played. So we had such a nice day. And the 3 matches I've played with Tim over the years, with the exception of this one this year where I played in his 50th birthday down in Surrey. Tim's got a century in every game that I've played, so quite a good token for Tim.
And what did you bowl?
I bowled very, very straight, slow. If you missed it, you're out.
Yeah.
I've never spun a ball in my life. Everybody used to say, oh, the spinner's coming on, which I always have to laugh about because I've never spun a ball in my life. It was very, very military slow, but I was quite accurate.
The trouble is, we've all played in league cricket against people like you, and,
Yeah.
and we all make this assumption that you can put them out of the ground, and
Exactly.
actually they end up
Yeah.
making young players look foolish.
Exactly. I mean, to be quite honest, I think there's a slight sense of stigma to be out to me as well because I'm quite, like I say, I'm quite well known in as much as my association with cricket locally and down here, a lot of people know me. So I think it's a fear factor and all. Oh God, I'm not going to be after him, you know. But,
Interesting about the job with the police. Was that something? I mean, where did that come from? What was your desire to?
It was a weird one, really, because when I left school, when I was at school, I always said I'd like to work for police. Now, I never wanted to be a policeman at that stage because I never wanted to not play cricket on Saturdays, and obviously with shift patterns in that day, wasn't possible. So this job came available, and at that time, I worked at Stevenson's Dye Works for 2 days, but I didn't like that. And my dad bailed me out from that. He went and told me I wasn't going again. And at that time, the government had the government training scheme, it was called, and basically it was to lessen the unemployment figures. And I got taken on like a trial, and after about 3 months, 4 months, because it was Derbyshire County Council, positions became advertised and things like that. And there was one came up in another section, which was the CID department, and I got it, and that was it really. And I was there 13 good years. I really enjoyed it, and when I left, I still miss the people that I worked with. But what happened was, I used to get a lift to work every day by a guy who I played cricket with, ironically, and he started making a few quid selling jeans. So he said, why don't you take some jeans to work, see if you can sell them to policemen. So that's what I did, and I got the bug. Eventually, Jim, he went to live in Newcastle, having found a girl up there, and I thought, well, I'll have a crack at this myself. So I went and bought a few samples, and I remember buying some.
Non-sportswear?
This is not at this stage. This was non-sportswear. The first two things I ever bought was a socket set and a clock radio sample. And the first week, I sold 26 socket sets and eight clock radios. I made more than I was making in my wages. So it was, wow, this is good.
Had you had that in you all along, do you think? That
I think I did.
Because you either have or haven't, I suspect.
I've been asked this before. I think I can remember selling somebody a book on tanks as a kid when I was about 7 or 8. And the funny thing is, he's still a mate today, so I probably leave a good deal. So yeah, I think there was something in that. But my mum always tells me that some of her family used to work on markets years ago, and that's another thing I did. I did markets and all sorts of things when I first left police to get established. And then I bought 2 Adidas T-shirts, and I thought, that I took orders of them and probably got an order for, I don't know, I can't remember now, 20. But when I went up, they're all gone. When I went back to the warehouse, so I decided to start buying a bit of stock, and I borrowed £25 off my mum, to be quite honest. And I only dare spend 13 of it in case I couldn't get it back. So that's how I started with that.
But still working for the police?
Yeah, I was still working for the police at that start, yeah.
So what was the thought process behind, I mean, it's hard to know how to actually get into this conversation, because presumably you were building relationships with players anyway, or weren't you?
Only as a fan asking for autographs at that stage. I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, we're talking now, I would have been around about 20, I was 30 when I left the police, so I just watched cricket as just a fan in them days. It was only when I left and set up Mitchell Sports that I got involved in any sort of sponsorship.
But did you leave the police to do Mitchell Sports?
Yeah, I left the police in 1990. I thought the opportunity was there to have a go. If I wasn't going to have a go then, I was never going to have a go.
Yeah.
So I left in 1990. I worked, like I say, I worked on the markets. I did all sorts for a year, and then Julie got pregnant with our first son, and I thought we were getting people knocking on our door at all. Have you got a tracksuit in a size medium?
Did you see it as a risk, having given up a superannuated job for that? Because it's easy now to think, oh yeah, that was easy, but it must have been still a bit of doubt.
Yeah. The weekend that I decided to do it, I went to see a good friend of mine who was a policeman, and I went to see my sister, and who we're very close to, and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm actually at the end of me. I think I'm a member of retire with the police. I'm not on a great wage, and if it fails, I can probably get another clerk's job or something like that. Having done 13 years, and if I don't do it, I won't do it. So yeah, I decided to do it. And the funny thing was that the afternoon that I left, which was the 28th of February, I started on my own on the 2nd of March, I got a phone call, as we were having a bit of a drink at work for a leaving do. The phone went, and the guy said, hello, my name's Paul Sargent. I believe you're leaving. I work for Wembley. I work at Wembley Stadium. And I thought, yeah, of course you do. I'll ring you back, yeah. So I took his number. I thought it was a complete wind-up from one of the policemen. So I just rung him back, and he went, Wembley Stadium. I thought, wow. I said, can I speak to Paul Sargent? And Paul Sargent was in charge of the commercial side of Wembley. And he said, I've heard you're leaving the police and you're going to set up on your own. Would you like to come and see me? There's a possibility that we need somebody here who could help us with retail sales. And that had come through another policeman who worked at Long Eaton called Jim Sargent, and it was his brother.
That's astonishing, because you've got no
I had never
experience
met
of retail apart from you
none
selling
at all.
a few bits and
None
bobs.
at all. So for 6 months I worked for Wembley over Italian 1990, in as much as I went round to sports shops trying to sell their product. So it was quite useful because they paid all my petrol and everything, and it meant I was getting out to areas. So that was an help.
And you're still playing cricket, presumably?
Yeah, still playing now. Yeah. Oh, sorry, there. No, I still play. I've never not played. I played every year. But
So that 6 months was a fixed contract, was it?
yeah. Well, it was up to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned things from that. It was good.
And had you still got your idea fixed then on Mitchell Sports, or was that still?
No, Mitchell
that was
Sports
still in
was
the
still
background?
going. Mitchell Sports was still going, but I run that alongside because, like you say, financially, I'd still got a mortgage and all this sort of thing, so I had to hit a certain amount every. My wife was working at that time. We hadn't got any children, so.
Had you got premises at that time?
No, I worked from a garage. I worked from a garage at home. No, the premises came. We decided to go into premises the first year when Liam was born, and I said, look, I'll run it as a factory shop at South Normanton, and that was we decided we'd take it for 6 months. Well, we're still there, and that was 1991. So I mean, it's the cricket part of selling didn't come until another 5 or 6 years later. I had a good friend who everybody would know round here who played cricket, called Ian Walker, who used to sell gear from his loft in Ripley, and I used to get Ian a bit of product from the likes of Pony and things like that because he hadn't got the account, and he always said I wouldn't sell any cricket gear whilst he was doing it. Well, unfortunately, Ian contracted Parkinson's disease, and his wife, Kath, at that time, rang me and said, we're going to pack up, Andy, so if you want to take on, the selling around here, they're not any animosity or anything then. So that's what happened, and I suppose really we... Ours out then was like a little part of Mitchell Sports, as opposed to being what my business is now is mainly ours out. Well, it's all ours out cricket retail wise, because when the likes of Mr. Ashley came along and sort of took the sports world over, we couldn't compete, so we had to specialise, of which we have done, and that's what happened probably about 15 years ago now. So we've been.
Well, that's a marvellous introduction. I think we'll just it's a natural place to break, I think, just there. So we'll come back in a minute and we'll look at how's that sport took off, and also your greater involvement with cricket, with beneficiaries and all that kind of thing, and sponsorship. So thank you.